Son of Man is yet to come, like he's still to come. But if you compare the same episode in the same saying in Luke, I think it's Luke 22, where Jesus is before the high priest. It's verse 60 something as well, I think.
64.
69, yeah. But from now on, so basically they're asking, are you the Son of God? And so, or are you the Christ? And then he says, you say that I am. And then he says, but from now on, the Son of Man shall be seated at the right hand of the power of God. So he's no longer coming, but he's already present.
Yeah,
Like it's already here.
It's not identical, but I'm not arguing on the basis of biblical infallibility. What I'm saying is that the Gospels can give us a reliable historical witness to what the historical Jesus actually did and said.
Sure, but they're not tape recordings.
Yeah,
so this conversation, for example, is being recorded.
Yeah.
But the writers themselves, they have written sources or written materials in front of them,
Yeah,
and so they have the choice.
Had some oral traditions,
Yeah.
then, if they're writing years after these events, maybe they would ask their friends, what did Jesus say there again? Because you're not going to remember exactly a conversation you had 20
And
years
the New Testament, the printing press wasn't yet invented.
Yeah.
It was invented like hundreds and hundreds of years later.
grafting,
So they would have to manually copy the writings.
Yeah.
So Matthew's using a copied version of Mark's Gospel, and so is Luke.
Yeah, but do you know that,
So
or is that just a scholarly hypothesis?
Well, they didn't have the printing press back then.
No, but
So
I understand
Matthew's
that.
not using like an autograph copy of Mark,
No, what I'm saying
but
is
he's using
how-
some version of Mark's Gospel that's been copied.
Yeah, no. So what I'm saying is, how do you know that he had a copy of Mark's? You don't know that. You're
Oh yeah,
not certain that.
No, I think there's very strong evidence.
Okay, sure.
So
Let's have a look at
if you go to Mark chapter 13,
I'm in Daniel. It's gonna be
oh
fluid.
sorry,
It's alright.
if you go Mark 13, it's where Jesus says, "Let the reader understand." So it'd probably be more easy if I just.
If you just want to, I can try to bring it up as well.
Let the reader understand. It's in Mark chapter
You
13.
can just Google it. It'll just say, "Let the reader understand." Mark 13.
Yeah, okay. Just my internet's not so great.
Verse you refer, I'll forward it up.
Okay, here it is, verse 14. Let the reader understand.
13. Is that 13? Chapter 14.
Yeah. And then if you compare that with Matthew chapter 24,
To be fair, that's a good point.
nice.
I've got to hold my hands to that. That is a good point. I
good
found
point,
it
yeah.
early. Yeah. I'll
Excellent.
admit that. On the tape, guys, you can clip that.
No, it's cool. To be honest, I don't really like these types of discussions anyway, but
No,
we're
I
just
understand.
interested in the
I'm
truth, so
I'm
yeah.
just joking.
Oh, okay, no worries.
I'm taking the mic a little bit. I'm sorry.
Now, can you just go,
What's the reference in Matthew 24 for let the reader understand? I actually should have highlighted it, but I forgot.
24.
So I found it.
Oh, you found it?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
found it.
Oh,
It
He's
was the same.
acknowledged the point. He's
Oh,
acknowledged
okay,
he's
cool.
conceded the point.
I will concede that one.
Okay, no worries.
So,
But have you
yeah.
understood what's happened here as well?
I've actually missed it because I couldn't see it.
Do you want to explain what you've
Nice,
understood?
cool.
yeah. So in Mark, this is my fiance. So in Mark chapter, Mark 13, 14.
yeah.
In Mark 13:14, there is an abomination that brings desolation being described. So I think it's like an eschatological prophecy about the end of the world. And then Mark, there's like an editorial note. So Mark sort of breaks the fourth wall temporarily and says, let the reader understand, as in pay attention to what I'm saying here, don't just skip over this. And then if you read Matthew's account of the same thing, it has this exactly the same editorial note there, which, to be fair to you, that is very good evidence that Matthew was using Mark as a source. So I will concede that one.
And you know,
Very humble. I respect you. Go ahead.
I'll just go, in the prologue of Luke's Gospel,
Yeah.
Luke says that he also had sources that he used
Yeah.
in order to write his Gospel.
That makes sense. I think.
And also the other one is they quote from the Old Testament.
Yeah.
They refer to the Synoptic Gospels.
Yeah.
So the Synoptics, they quote from the Old Testament, and the Old Testament quotation appears identical in all three.
Yeah.
So it's not just merely like written sources. It's like if you're writing, like Boris Johnson's, if he's giving like a presidential speech, so a prime minister speech, journalists, they would like be identical in terms of his words, like what he says, but not the narrative. The narrative, they will write it in their own style of writing. But in the synoptic,
So you're saying the words could be identical, but the narrative.
so yeah, if they're quoting like Boris Johnson or like, like the prime minister or the president, the words, the quotation of the words will be identical.
Yeah.
But everything else, like maybe
the commentary.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah,
But in the synoptic gospels, it's not just the quoting Jesus' words as identical, but also the commentary as well is also identical as well in parts. So like it's like that Mark chapter 13 verse 24. So that shows us an eternal relationship. Like one of them is copying from the other or is dependent. And this is widely acknowledged among scholars. They call Mark is first and then, even conservative scholars like William Lane Craig.
That guy is a heretic, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Which church? You?
Catholic.
So the Catholic Church teaches the Mark is the earliest, and so New Jerome Biblical Commentary, for example, is a Catholic commentary by the Vatican. They say that Mark was first, and Matthew and Luke copied from Mark.
True. I mean, not
I'm paraphrasing,
but
that's what they're saying in effect.
Not everything the Vatican comes out with is infallible, but.
Sure, that's fine. So Daniel chapter 7, if you read Daniel 7, it's a prophecy, but there's also commentary to that prophecy in the same chapter.
Yeah, because Daniel was recounting his own dream.
Yeah, so he didn't understand the vision because it was...
it says right afterwards that he felt troubled by his own dream.
Yeah, and there's an angel standing next to him, and then the angel gives the interpretation of that vision.
I've already had a word original. Thank you so
Keep
much.
it for later or something, or just to remind us.
So here, okay, look at my phone now. Sorry, I got a little race. Okay, so this is the verse that I pulled up.
Yeah.
And Daniel, he does comment on his own dream, but I'm not.
It's not so much Daniel himself, but the angel interprets the vision for him. Like he sees an angel and then
this
explains.
Is the latter half.
So this part's the commentary of the vision, and in the commentary, the angel explains that the four beasts that he saw are like four nations.
Yeah, 4 nations.
That are opposed or anti.
It's normally identified as Babylon.
Rome as well as another.
Rome is the one that's
is the fourth one,
Because it came true.
So Jews, they interpret the fourth beast as referring to the Catholic Church or to the Rome. But anyway, but yeah.
But the Catholic Church is the true Israel, which is why modern Israel is a completely immoral creation. The Talmud, all of it. They should have all become Christian. The church is the new Israel. But
so Muslims also have an interpretation as well.
Okay.
And Muslims understand that the saints of the Most High refers to the nation of Islam or the Prophet Muhammad.
Okay.
Because here Daniel says, the son of one who appeared like a son of man, he's given dominion and power.
Whoa,
and
the
all
son of man is Muhammad.
Not the son of man is Muhammad, but the son of man is the Muslim nation or the Muslim community are the saints.
Okay.
Because
it's like the collective Muslim community, or only like those that are viewed really highly in the Ummah?
I would just say the Ummah.
The whole Ummah.
Yeah. So because in verse 27, I think it is, it says that the saints are given power and dominion, and people from all nations come and serve them.
Okay.
Or words to that effect. So it's the same, it's a parallel. So even if you don't regard the saints as being the Muslim Ummah, it's referring to a particular nation. So Israel sees that as themselves.
No, so the beasts are nations. I don't dispute that at all. That's
But the Son of Man
that's
is.
the official Catholic position.
Actually, read the New Jerome Biblical Commentary. They actually agree with my interpretation
Still using
as far
So where
as.
does it agree with your interpretation?
So they would agree that it's referring to a nation of people like
The
saints.
Son of Man.
Yeah.
I would have a hard time believing that, and this is why I wanted to say it. This is why I brought this up.
They wouldn't say in its context it refers to Jesus. They wouldn't say from its context it refers to Jesus. But they would. The New Jerome Biblical
Jesus gives
Commentary.
himself this title in the trial of the Sanhedrin, which is why the high priest accuses him of blasphemy.
So some scholars say that Jesus, in Mark's Gospel, is speaking about another Son of Man. That sometimes when Jesus uses the title Son of Man, it refers to him, and other times it refers to someone else.
That seems a bit ad hoc.
So if you look in Mark 8:41, Jesus says, "Whoever rejects me from this generation, so shall the Son of Man, when he comes, reject them." So there it seems like he's speaking about another Son of Man.
But that would be because the Son of Man.
It's the last verse of Mark, chapter 8.
I was just saying,
okay.
let's go to it actually. But I would say that doesn't strain my interpretation of the Son of Man at all, because the Son of Man, the prophecies this is referring to, these are eschatological events that are going to happen at the end of the world.
End times,
so if he's talking about the Son of Man to come, that can still be himself, even though he's a walking, talking human being on the earth at a particular point in history at this point.
Yeah, but when Jesus says when he comes, he doesn't say when I return, but when he comes seems to imply.
Go ahead, make that once more, please.
Yeah. So like when he comes seems to imply that he's not yet here.
Okay, is it?
But
Is it here?
It's like the last.
After the resurrection.
It's Mark chapter 8.
Oh, okay.
It's like the last verse or the second last verse of that chapter. I think it's verse 48 or something.
If anyone is ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, the Son of Man will be ashamed of them when he comes in his Father's glory with the holy angels.
Yeah, so when he comes rather than when he returns or comes back. But in
that's one possible interpretation,
but you know in the
but
later
otherwise-
Gospels they seem.
Hold on.
Sorry, yeah.
But I think the interpretation that fits much more neatly, because notice what he says about his Father, when in other places he's called the Son of God, he speaks of God as the Father, so he's now speaking about his Father's glory. I think it's a much more neat, it just fits more neatly
Jews
with the text.
did call God
to say-
Father.
No, that's not the point that I'm making. What I'm saying is that the Son of Man is going to be ashamed of these people when he comes in his Father's glory. He's saying that, so there's a contrast here. He's saying the people are ashamed of me now, so the Son of Man will be ashamed of them in the future at the end of the world. Now that makes perfect sense if the Son of Man is still Jesus, because he's basically saying, if you reject me now, I'm going to reject you later.
Well, here's saying when he comes rather than when he returns or so on.
I know. He's not saying it would. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It would be easier if he said it when I come. That would make my job a whole lot easier. I'm not gonna prance around that point. But I'm still saying that the interpretation that puts Jesus as the Son of Man fits that more neatly. Because the point that he's making here is that if you reject me, I'm gonna reject you in the future. It doesn't make sense that if you reject me, this other figure will reject you at some point in the future, when he also calls himself a Son of Man in other places. So when you see the Son of Man title applied to him so many times, when he applies it to himself on trial, it's just such an awkward interpretation to say, yeah, it may refer to him here, but there's another Son of Man somewhere else. That seems so ad hoc to me, because this is a really strong argument. That's what it seems like to me.
I mean, he's prophesizing the coming of the Son of Man.
Yeah,
so
which
it's
is
an event hasn't happened yet, but it's still to come.
Yeah.
So you would only say that prophecy applies to Jesus when he returns, but you can't say it applies to him at the moment because he hasn't yet returned. You can only it's just based
depends
upon
what you
blind
mean
belief.
by, applied to him. I would say you can still call him the Son of Man before he fulfills this final action of coming on the clouds. But he's only going to come on the clouds once. That's only going to happen once at the very end of time. Does that answer your question?
I appreciate the point you're making. People like Bruce Chilton.
Bruce Chilton, the New Testament scholar.
So he makes the point that like when Jesus speaks of the Son of Man in this context, he's not using like Perusia or second coming language, but he's saying that he's still to come. And it's not just him, but also E.P. Sanders as well. In fact, E.P. Sanders makes the point that at the trial of Jesus, in Luke's version, there's no actual blasphemy. So in Mark, they accused him of blasphemy, but Luke doesn't have any blasphemy.
I think I've got quite a long train journey back to uni, so we'll make this the end here.
No, it's cool. If you guys need to go now, it's fine. So, yeah, because I pretty much said what I was going to say, so.
Trial, so
And we can keep in touch, so.
certainly, I'll give you my email. Arrested. Okay, here. So I'll read it. So at daybreak, the council of the elders of the people, both the chief priests and the teachers of the law, met together, and Jesus was led before them. If you are the Messiah, they said, tell us. Jesus answered, if I tell you, you will not believe me, and if I asked you, you would not answer. But from now on, the Son of Man will be seated at the right hand of the mighty God. They all asked, are you then the Son of God? This is obviously a different title than Son of Man. He replied, you say that I am. Then they said, why do we need any more testimony? We've heard it from his own lips. So to be fair, there's not an explicit accusation. It's not like Mark where he says, you have heard the blasphemy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to actually show you. Yeah, Mark, it says it's blasphemy. But Luke seems to remove it. But anyway.
But you've got to be careful here, because
Why does Luke remove it? Why do you think he removes it?
maybe he didn't think it was important to note down. These are real eyewitness accounts, or based on the accounts of other eyewitnesses. And eyewitness testimony is never like word for word the same. Because if you saw eyewitness testimony that was word for word the same, describing the same event, you would say, well, these guys obviously just agreed to write down the exact same thing.
The Son of God, claiming to be Son of God, was a blasphemy in Jewish culture.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But Mark, maybe reading the Gentile definition of Son of God back into like the life of Jesus, and that's why in Mark they accuse him of blasphemy, whereas Luke, having better knowledge, may have.
But that's presupposing that the high priest didn't actually say you've heard the blasphemy. But if you're going to say that, then you're just calling that presupposition accuses Mark of being a liar. But if Mark is lying about what he says,
not that
we can
he's
throw out
lying.
the whole Bible in one go.
Just one, check this out. Not that he's lying, but
Mark isn't deliberately lying, but he's reading his own Gentile understanding of the title Son of God. But he's assuming that it would have been blasphemy, but Luke having carefully.
But Mark isn't. That's not like an editorial note from Mark. That's him quoting the high priest. So if the high priest didn't actually say that, then Mark is a liar. Which means we can throw the whole gospel out and the whole Bible altogether.
Not necessarily, because Mark also has sources as well. So he's relying on his own sources. So the sources that has reached him says blasphemy, that Jesus. So he may have just included that from his understanding of Son of God.
I get that, but if he's including that from his understanding, not presenting it that way. He's presenting it as if it's something the high priest himself said.
Yeah, because that's what he believes. So he's sincere, but just because you're sincere doesn't mean you're sincerely right.
Yeah, I agree. But the point is, did the high priest actually say that? It's not.
Mark believes he did, but it doesn't mean he's lying. But Luke seems to, because Luke says like many have written, but I've carefully investigated these things to write you a more accurate account.
Yeah.
So Luke is like correcting like the previous.
Why is Mark saying that I'm writing a more accurate account? Is he trying to cast some perhaps,
Yeah, I mean,
uncertainty on Mark and Matthew?
Luke is.
I'd say he's just trying to give a more polished, well-written account of what has already come before him.
But by definition, it is an accurate account, which therefore, what do you say?
Implies
that
he didn't consider the other ones to be
I would
satisfactory.
say
Or
if you could like go back in a time machine and watch everything that happened in Jesus' life, right,
Yeah.
from start to finish, and you compare that to what Mark wrote down, Mark is going to be missing quite a lot of things. And so the fact that Luke wants to include as many accurate details as he can, it doesn't necessarily follow that Mark got things wrong. It could just be that Mark only missed things out, which doesn't contradict the Christian worldview.
I don't want to keep you guys. I'm happy to continue,
just one more
but
thing, just as a
sorry.
conclusion.
Okay, sure.
Now, I think that you are a thorough gentleman, Jack, and I'm delighted to see that you're prepared to concede points when they become rather self-apparent. So within this discussion, in terms of the divinity of Christ, I'd like Nizam also just to maybe wrap up this conclusion. Nizam, is it satisfactory to say that the New Testament does not teach that Jesus is Almighty God in the ontological sense?
I believe that, by the way. Yeah, I know.
I know you need to go, but I just want you to...
It depends what you mean, and I know this sounds like a cop-out, but it depends what you mean by mighty God, because in some sense only the Father is Almighty God, because he's the source and fount of the Godhead. But if you mean that Jesus is identified with the divine nature, then yes, Jesus is Almighty God, and the New Testament does teach that.
I disagree.
Okay,
yeah.
sure, that's fine.
There is no verse that says he shares the same substance or nature as God Father, but we can maybe discuss that in the future. What would be convenient?
Okay, oh yeah.
Is it okay? I'll write to
That's fine.
yeah.
We just come through.
They've been here for over about an hour, so you might have to leave your bank account details because we're going to have to charge you.
Finish that thing. Conclusion summary. Finish that thing, yeah?
I need a pen. Someone's got.
Just write it down. Don't need to.
Sorry, it's not working. The pen.
That's okay.
Do you just want to write it in your phone?
I think I've got a pen in my bag actually.
Oh, okay, yeah.
As a student.
Still speaking or?
Still speaking or?
Thank you for the conversation today, by the way.
No, it's really nice. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I know. It's sincerity. You know, each of us think that we've got a good way to get to heaven, which is revealed from God. And so, you know, if you didn't want to share that, it's kind of selfish. So,
Vatican teaches that Muslims profess in the God of Abraham.
yeah. No, I agree. I hold to all of the councils of the church.
The Catholic.
Oh yeah, thank you. Well, it does say that Muslims may be included in the plan of salvation. It does still affirm they're in error, and because I don't want to give you a false impression of what the church teaches. It says that anyone who knows that the church is necessary for salvation and obstinately refuses to enter into the church can never be saved. So you can only be, thank you, as a non-Catholic, you can only be ignorance. So if it's by your own fault that you don't become Catholic and be baptized, you will never enter heaven. This goes for Protestants, this goes for the Eastern Orthodox, this goes for Muslims, Jews, pagans, atheists, everyone. Yeah, that was a thoroughly enjoyable conversation.
Did you give them your channel?
This is your chance.
YouTube. Yeah, give them your YouTube because they've got a YouTube channel.
I'm going to see myself on there.
No. What is it?
Mine.
They do live streams, so you can come on and have.
I can call in. I'll be sick.
Continuous message. Which is called continuous message.
We're not into the arguing.
We've got a few
Oh, no way, I was going to say.
He's the Catholic.
So I know, he converted. I'll take a question. Because I've seen, that guy's Shia, isn't he? I've seen him debate like, Muslim about the position before.
I'm Sunni, by the way, but we're friends.
Clear on that?
Yeah.
That is very cool.
Oh yeah, so I'm on the WhatsApp group.
No way. That's so cool.
We were hoping.
I see. Because I think Sam is like,
Can I have some? I hope so.
philosophically, he's maybe not the strongest, but I think scripturally he's got very impressive knowledge. You should watch J. Dyer.
We had the dialogue.
He's a dialogue with everybody.
Where can I find this?
If you just type my name, Hassan 44. It's not
So man, Mustafa was saying his teacher, this is his teacher.
Oh my god, yeah, I would love to watch that. I mean, obviously I'm not Orthodox, I don't agree with J. Dyer.
Yeah, it's just J. Dyer, my name.
That is so cool. Oh my gosh.
He's from Canada. I'm not from Canada.
No way. That's awesome.
No.
I'll check it out. I'll really enjoy it. I mean, I've got a long train journey back to Oxford, so I'll listen to it. Yes, Trent Horn played a huge part in my conversion.
Oh, really?
He really did. He's very intellectual.
Yeah, I prefer dialogue with him than faction.
Yeah, Sam can be very, very belligerent. To be honest with you.
And towards other Christians as well.
Yeah, to be honest with you.
But Trent Horn, I wish he would have a dialogue with him.
Because I think his area of expertise, he does a lot of stuff for the pro-life. Because that was how I found him originally. Because I'm very good on pro-life stuff.
Yeah, we are.
Generally, although I know it's not like consistent teaching to the best of my knowledge. Like, Catholicism is like...
conceptual now, when like,
Yeah, okay.
around maybe when there is some discussion as to what point, so like...
Yeah, because there's a concept of ensoulment. It looks like I'm part of your story.
Yeah, you better start getting your way home.
Guys, come and get the Quran.
No, we don't force.
Nah, I'm just...
We only convey the messages of the God who we lead.
Amen. Holy Spirit, God. The Son is less on the Father. The Son is less on the
Not transitory. We've only got it in English. I'm a transliteration only in English. Now what we do is every ministry, alhamdulillah, from Muslims we ask a small donation if you can make it. You don't have to like
Brother, one more thing, yeah. How about you guys take support of the because there's always in moments, there's always burden that Jesus. No, I know. That's why. We need to forward to both of them.
I used to do that.
Yeah. Because everyone's confused up there.
Can I give you a copy? Do you have the copy of this?
I
For
don't.
yourself?
No, I don't, but I'll take one.
Yeah. Just, shall I leave it inside one of the bags?
Yeah.
Yeah, put it in.
Oh, okay. Shall I? You can look. Sorry. There you go. What's the name? Are you American by Are you I remember when I was 19, man, I was traveling the world, so I was paying for all this, that, whatever. That's it, man. You win publishing. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. When we were fighting, we were chased by the cops back in our time. And that was like a sport. Role reversal, man. You know the guy that you met with the long beard with the hat?
Yes.
His son is now the MMA fighter. Yeah, he's an MMA. My son is 10 years old. I'm just hoping him to get into jiu-jitsu and all that kind of stuff. So he's interested in boxing. You've got to learn, you've got to nowadays the kids are crazy. If I've got beef with you, it's like, it's like, oh, I'm going to get it back. Back in our time, we used to have like, you know? And then we walk away,
Believe. Chicken cut.
shukriya bhaiya, thank you. Is that chicken? Finish.
You say chicken.
Taste it. The mic. This is something for you. Samosa and biryani. I don't know whether you agree. There you go. We always get things like that, man. We've got brothers that always do something every day. Sweets and stuff there. Yeah, it's warm as well. So, yeah, man.
Open it.
Show him the beauty of Islam.
It's a shame that
Yeah, show him the beauty. Enjoy it. Yes.
Never studied, even I'm still learning about my own faith, let alone. But one thing I'll say, that's what I the English guy.
He speaks the Arabic well. If you're Christian, you need to learn a little bit about a lot of us, now it's all of us. But we reverted out 6 years ago. So me, what would you do? Would you want to go around the face as well? No. Take care. I like. closest you have, First John 5:7. So I tell you why. It tells you that the three are one. What is based on? Where? Look, back up that next one. If you want, you can go behind and you can point it now. You can go behind, yeah. Thanks for your patience.
Wait, let her.
Can I get a
She wants to give you
Yeah.
Mate, I've got some. I've got some. Well, it's okay. I've got enough.
These are so addictive. I swear to God, these are so addictive. Yeah, I'm just getting it. Take some. These are so addictive. Take it.
Mine is quite spicy though.
I'll manage.
Yeah. Because there is no
You can take more when you've got one.
That's so rude. You can't make it.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. See, look what's happened.
Read the Bible. What is Kedar? Forget this. What is Kedar? You don't know your Bible? Yeah, I know Kedar. What is Kedar? Saudi Arabia. Right? What is Selah? What language is it? It's your Bible. No. What language is it? It's a mountain. It's a mountain. Right? It's a bit not like I'm going Latin sometimes. What did I tell you? Honestly, you're a wonderful person. In actual fact, when you speak, it makes me rejoice because you. What did I say to you? You're wonderful. And for me, it gives me hope that people like you are about this world. But the problem is, every bullet point that's been thrown, I used to say, it's all those same things. It wasn't until I started to learn about the Bible itself, like the Nicene Creed, like, Josephus, and I started to really get into it. That I started to question things, and that's the Nicene Creed. How long after Jesus did that happen?